If you hear a woman crying in the distance, you might still have time to run. But if the weeping sounds close, right outside your window, near your door, then she's already seen you. And according to those who've survived the encounter, that's when you hear it, the scream. Welcome to the Hidden Archive. I'm Fernanda, and tonight we're opening a case that has haunted Latin America for centuries. A story that still makes people lock their doors when they hear crying at night. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what it means to hear La Llorona. You'll know the difference between hearing her far away and hearing her close. You'll learn what you're supposed to do if you ever see her standing outside your window, and you'll hear about someone who didn't follow the rules, someone who looked back, because ignoring her is not an option. The legend of La Llorona, the weeping woman, has roots that stretch back centuries, blending indigenous myth with colonial horror. The most common version tells of a woman who drowned her children in a river, driven by grief, rage, or madness. When she realized what she had done, she took her own life. But death didn't grant her peace. Instead, she was cursed to wander the earth forever, searching for her children along rivers, canals, and streams, crying out for them in the dark. Ay, mis hijos, where are my children? Over time, the story evolved. It stopped being just a tale of tragedy. It became a warning, a presence, something people claim to actually hear and see. And in every version of the story, one thing remains constant. She's still looking, and she mistakes the living for the dead. Here's what you need to understand. La Llorona is not like other ghosts. She doesn't haunt one location. She doesn't stay in one place. She follows the water. If you live near a river, a canal, a stream, anywhere water moves, she can appear. And when she does, there are rules. Hearing her far away. If you hear her crying in the distance, faint and mournful, you're relatively safe. The folklore says that when her weeping sounds far, she's actually close, and when it sounds close, she's far. It's a cruel trick, a distortion meant to confuse you, to make you think you have more time than you do. But here's the part that makes people freeze. If you hear her right outside your home, if the crying is loud, clear, unmistakable, then she's already at your door. What happens if you see her? Those who've claimed to see La Llorona describe the same thing. A woman in white, soaked from head to toe, her long black hair clinging to her face. She moves slowly. She doesn't run. She doesn't need to. If you're walking alone at night and you see her on the street, the advice is simple. Do not look at her. Do not speak to her. Turn around, walk away, do not run. Running makes you pray. And whatever you do, do not let her see that you're afraid. But they don't always tell you is this. Even if you follow the rules perfectly, even if you don't look, don't run, don't acknowledge her, she may still follow you home. If she's outside your window. This is where the legend becomes something darker. People say that La Llorona cannot enter a home. She's bound by some ancient rule, some threshold she cannot cross. But she can stand outside. She can look in. And if you make the mistake of looking back, if you meet her eyes through the glass, you've acknowledged her. You've let her know you see her. And from that moment on, you're marked. Some say she'll return every night, standing in the same spot, waiting. Others say she'll follow you wherever you go, appearing outside hotels, outside friends' houses, outside anywhere you try to hide. But the one thing everyone agrees on, if you hear her outside your window, you pray. You don't look, you don't move, you close your eyes, cover your ears if you have to, and you wait for the crying to stop. Because the moment you look, she knows you're afraid, and she feeds on that fear. The children. There's another detail that doesn't get talked about enough. La Llorona doesn't just wander aimlessly. She's searching for her children, and to her, anyone near the water could be her child, especially the young. There are reports across Mexico, Guatemala, parts of the American Southwest, of children going missing near rivers. Some are found days later, drowned with no explanation for how they ended up in the water. Others are never found at all. And in those cases, people whisper the same thing. La Llorona se los llevó. La Llorona took them. An interview to a local radio station in Guanajuato, Mexico. She was in her late 60s at the time, and she told a story she had kept silent for over 40 years. When Maria was 17, she lived with her family in a small house near the Rio Guanajuato. It wasn't a large river, more of a canal, really, but it ran year-round, and during the rainy season, it swelled and became dangerous. One night in August, Maria woke up to the sound of crying. At first, she thought it was her mother, but when she sat up in bed, she realized the sound was coming from outside, from the river. She got up, walked to the window, and that's when she saw her, a woman in white, standing at the edge of the water, her back turned. Maria said the woman wasn't moving, just standing there, crying. And for reasons she still can't explain, Maria opened the window. She called out, "Señora, ¿está bien?" The crying stopped. The woman turned around, and Maria said she will never forget what she saw. The woman's face was pale, almost gray, and her eyes were completely black. Not just the pupils, the entire eye. And she was smiling, not a kind smile, not a sad smile, a smile that didn't belong on a human face. Maria slammed the window shut. She ran back to her bed, pulled the covers over her head, and prayed until the sun came up. The next morning, she told her mother what she'd seen. Her mother went silent. Then she said something Maria never forgot. "You looked at her. Now she knows where you live." For the next 3 months, every single night, Maria heard the crying outside her window. She never looked again. She never opened the curtains, but she could feel it, the weight of something standing there, waiting. Her family eventually moved. They didn't give a reason, they just left. And Maria said that even now, decades later, whenever she hears running water at night, she feels like she's being watched. What makes La Llorona so terrifying is that she isn't bound by the usual rules. She's not tied to a single haunted house or a specific graveyard. She exists wherever there is water. A river running through your town, a drainage canal behind your neighborhood, a creek hidden in the woods, even an irrigation ditch in the desert. If water flows there, she can appear there. And she doesn't announce herself, she just is. One moment the street is empty, the next you hear the crying, and by the time you realize it's her, it may already be too late. Think about that for a second. If you live near any body of moving water, she could be there right now. You wouldn't know it until you heard it. And once you hear it, the question isn't whether she's real. The question is, how close is she? Imagine being a child again. It's late at night, you're lying in bed, the house is quiet, your parents are asleep, and through the thin walls of your home, you hear it, a woman's voice, distant and broken, calling out for her children. Ay, mis hijos, ay, mis hijos. Your heart starts to race. You pull the blanket over your head, but you can still hear it. And then it gets louder, closer. The crying moves down the street, slowly, deliberately, until it sounds like she's right outside your window. You don't move, you don't breathe, you just lie there, frozen, praying she passes by. And then, silence, complete silence. And somehow, that's worse, because now you don't know if she left or if she's just standing there, waiting. That's the fear La Llorona leaves behind, not the fear of death, but the fear of being seen, of being chosen, of knowing that something inhuman now knows exactly where you sleep. La Llorona is still out there, in the rivers, in the canals, in the places where water flows and no one dares to walk alone at night. If you've heard her before, you know, and if you haven't, maybe you will. Maybe tonight, when the house is quiet and the world is asleep, you'll hear it, a faint crying in the distance, and you'll have to decide, do you ignore it or do you look? If this story stayed with you, leave a like, subscribe to the Hidden Archive for more cases like this, and remember, if you ever hear a woman crying in the dark, don't assume it's human, and whatever you do, don't look back.